You are losing energy every single day, not to hard work, not to hard decisions, to explaining yourself to people who never asked to run your life. You justify your choices, you defend your dreams, you shrink yourself to fit their comfort, and at the end of it you feel smaller, not stronger. This audiobook is about stopping that habit completely. You are going to learn why explanation is a form of self-betrayal, why silence builds more than speeches ever could, and how to live so clearly that your life becomes its own answer. Stay with me. What you hear next will change how you move. Chapter 1. Stop handing your power to other people's opinions. Every time you explain yourself, something happens. You do not notice it right away, but it is happening. You are handing someone else a piece of your confidence. You are asking them to hold it for you, to approve it, to give it back with a nod, and sometimes they do not give it back at all. Think about the last time you made a decision you were proud of. Maybe you left a job. Maybe you ended a relationship. Maybe you chose a path nobody around you understood. For a brief moment, you felt clear. You felt sure. Then someone raised an eyebrow, and suddenly your confidence became a question. That is not weakness. That is conditioning. You were taught from a young age that your worth was tied to outside agreement. When others approved, you were safe. When they questioned, you were in danger. That lesson stayed with you, and it has been costing you ever since. Here is what nobody tells you. The moment you begin explaining yourself, you have already shifted position. You moved from standing in your decision to standing before a judge. You turned a personal choice into a public case, and now you have to win. The problem is that you cannot win. Not truly. Because the game is not about truth. It is about approval, and approval is unstable ground. What do you actually lose when you over-explain? You lose time, you lose focus, you lose the emotional energy that should be going toward your next move. Instead of building, you are defending. Instead of moving forward, you are standing still, making your case to someone who did not invest a single hour in your journey. Strong people do not argue for their direction. They move in it. They trust their choices enough to let them unfold without a running commentary. They understand that the most powerful proof of a good decision is not a well-crafted explanation. It is a well-lived result. Most people do not realize they are seeking permission. They think they are just sharing, just talking, just keeping people informed. But pay attention to how your body feels when someone questions your path. Does your chest tighten? Do your words speed up? Do you start adding details nobody asked for? That reaction tells you what is really happening. You want permission. You want someone to say you are allowed. You do not need permission, not for your growth, not for your goals, not for the version of yourself you are becoming. There is a shift that becomes available the moment you stop explaining. Your energy returns to you. Your attention goes back where it belongs, to your work, to your habits, to your daily choices. The mental space you were using to defend yourself becomes available for something far more productive. Building. When was the last time you made a decision and simply stayed inside it? No speech, no justification, no waiting to see how others would react. That kind of clarity is possible, but it requires you to stop treating your life like a proposal waiting for approval. Starting today, catch yourself before you explain. Notice the urge. Recognize it as old programming. Then choose differently. Respond simply. Speak briefly. Then move forward. Your life does not need a defense team. It needs your full attention. Give it that. Stop handing your power to other people's opinions. Start trusting your own. Chapter 2. The habit of justifying is slowly draining you. There is a habit so common that most people never question it. They justify. They justify every choice, every change, every boundary they try to set. It feels natural. It feels polite. It feels responsible. But over time, this habit drains you in ways you do not immediately see. Justifying your choices to people who are not responsible for the outcome is not communication. It is a slow leak, a steady loss of emotional fuel that should be going toward your progress instead of your defense. Think about your weekly conversations. How many of them involve you explaining why you made a decision someone else questioned, why you woke up earlier, why you stopped doing something, why you started something new, why you chose that direction instead of the expected one? Each of those conversations costs you. It costs time. It costs focus. It costs the quiet confidence that comes from simply owning your path without narrating it. Here is what justifying actually communicates to your own mind. It says, "I am not sure this is right," even when you are completely sure. The act of explaining to skeptics plants a seed of doubt. You hear yourself making the case, and part of your brain wonders if you really needed to. And then the second guessing starts. The most grounded people you will ever meet share one quality. They do not over-justify. They make decisions. They act. They adjust if needed. But they do not stand in the hallway explaining their direction to everyone walking by. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect in action. Where did this habit come from? For most people, it started early. As children, we were required to explain ourselves constantly. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Give me a reason. Those questions trained us to believe that our choices were always subject to review, that judgment was always coming, that the safe response was a thorough explanation. But you are not a child anymore. You are an adult making adult decisions. And adult decisions do not require committee approval. They require your commitment. There is also a social element to this habit. You may justify because you fear conflict, you want peace, you want to keep relationships comfortable. So you explain yourself as a kind of preemptive softening. You lay out your reasoning so no one feels pushed away. But here is the truth about that approach. When you over-explain to avoid conflict, you often create a different kind of discomfort. You signal that your decisions are negotiable, and people pick up on that signal. They sense that if they push a little harder, you might change your mind, so they push. And then you explain more, and the cycle continues. The way to stop that cycle is not to explain better, it is to explain less. When you speak with calm simplicity, when you say, "I have made this decision," without attaching paragraphs to it, you communicate something different. You communicate that your choice is solid, that you are not asking for input, that you have already considered your options and moved. What happens to all the energy you recover when you stop justifying? It goes into your work, into your growth, into the quiet disciplines that produce real results. You stop spending emotional strength on defense and start investing it in development. That is the trade you want to make. What excuse are you still holding on to that keeps you explaining yourself to people who will never be satisfied? Consider that carefully. From now on, speak simply, say less, move more. Your choices do not need footnotes, they need follow-through. Stop justifying and start building. The difference in how you feel will show up quickly. Chapter 3. Your life is not up for public debate. There is a line that confident people draw, a clear line between what is open for discussion and what is not. Most people never draw that line. They leave everything up for debate. Their career choices, their relationship decisions, their financial strategies, their daily habits. All of it becomes available for comment, critique, and correction by anyone who feels like weighing in. And life lived without that boundary is exhausting. You are constantly managing other people's reactions to your own existence. Your life is not a town hall meeting. You do not owe a vote to the room before you move forward. Some decisions belong only to you, not because you are hiding something, not because you are unreachable, but because the consequences are yours. The effort is yours. The results will be yours. And that means the authority belongs to you. When you treat every personal choice like a public decision, two things happen. First, you slow down. You cannot move quickly when you are waiting for consensus. Every new direction becomes a discussion. Every bold choice becomes a negotiation. The people around you may mean well, but their input introduces friction, and friction slows momentum. Second, you dilute your own instincts. When you constantly run your choices through other people's filters, you stop trusting your own. You start to second-guess your natural sense of what is right for you. Over time, your internal compass loses precision because you stopped using it. You outsourced the navigation to voices that do not live inside your life. Reclaiming your authority means accepting something uncomfortable. Not everyone will understand your direction. Some people will disagree. Some will think you are making a mistake, and they may say so directly and repeatedly. That discomfort is part of growth. It is not a signal to reverse course. It is a signal that you are making independent choices, which is exactly what strong people do. There is a difference between seeking wise counsel and opening your life to public opinion. Wise counsel comes from people with relevant experience who care about your growth. Public opinion comes from whoever feels like commenting. These are not the same thing. One feeds you, the other drains you. You get to decide which voices get real access. Think about the builders, the ones who create things that last. They do not pause construction every time someone on the street has a different idea about the blueprint. They consult their architect. They work with their team. They adjust when the structure demands it, but they do not redesign the entire foundation based on opinions from people who are not invested in the outcome. Your life is that structure. You are the architect. Your values are the foundation. Build accordingly. One of the most powerful things you can practice is a short, calm response when someone enters a debate you never invited them into. Not defensive, not cold, just clear. I appreciate that. I have thought about it. Then move. No elaboration, no invitation to keep pushing. Just a quiet signal that the case is closed. How long will you keep treating your personal decisions like they need a majority vote to move forward? Beginning now, draw the line. Decide which areas of your life are yours alone to navigate. Protect those areas with calm firmness. You can be warm and still be firm. You can be open and still have boundaries. The two are not in conflict. Your life is not up for debate. Own that fully and feel what shifts. Chapter 4. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. Most people are afraid of silence, particularly their own. When someone questions them, they rush to fill the space with words. When someone doubts them, they talk faster. When they feel misunderstood, they explain more. The silence feels like losing. But the silence is often the strongest move available. Silence is not passive, it is a choice. It is the decision to preserve your energy for something more important than the current debate. It is the recognition that not every question deserves an answer. Not every comment requires a response. Not every eyebrow raised in your direction needs to be addressed. When you respond to every criticism with an explanation, you are training the people around you. You are teaching them that if they apply pressure, you will justify yourself. That if they push, you will open up and give them access to your reasoning. That your decisions are not final until they are accepted. That is a lesson you do not want to teach. Silence teaches something different. It teaches that your choices stand on their own, that you are not rattled by questions, that you trust yourself enough to stay quiet while others form opinions. That calm is confidence without noise. There is a particular kind of person that everyone notices, not because they are the loudest in the room, not because they argue brilliantly, but because they are still when others are reactive, steady when others are defensive, quiet when others are performing. That stillness reads as power, because it is. You may worry that silence makes you seem cold or dismissive, but consider this. Calm silence paired with clear action communicates more than any explanation could. When you say very little, but consistently do the right thing, people do not see cold distance. They see someone focused, someone serious, someone who does not need to beg for understanding because their behavior makes the point. Think about the most respected people in your life. Do they argue with every critic? Do they explain every choice in detail? Do they post long responses to every challenge? Probably not. They are too busy moving. Their quiet confidence does not come from avoiding the hard moments. It comes from trusting themselves inside those moments. That trust allows them to stay still while the noise passes. When you practice strategic silence, something important happens internally too. You begin to hear yourself more clearly. When you are not filling every moment with words, your own instincts get louder. You notice what you actually think, what you actually feel, what you actually want. The clarity that comes from that listening is powerful. It sharpens your decisions. It deepens your self-awareness. There are also practical benefits. When you respond less, you make fewer impulsive statements. You avoid unnecessary arguments. You stop giving people information they can use against you. Your words, when you do speak, carry more weight. Because people know you do not speak unless you mean it. When is the last time you stayed quiet when every instinct was telling you to defend yourself? Notice what that took. Notice what it gave you. Starting today, practice the pause. When someone questions your direction, before your mouth opens, take 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, ask yourself, does responding serve my growth or just protect my ego? If it is the latter, let the moment pass. Move forward in quiet confidence. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Master it. Chapter 5. Build results instead of arguments. Here is a truth that most people learn too late. No argument has ever changed a life, not one. But consistent effort has changed millions of them. The people who achieve real progress are not the ones who win the most debates. They are the ones who show up the most consistently to do the work. You have 2 options in any moment of doubt from others. You can argue your case, or you can build your case. One is temporary, one is permanent. Choose carefully. When you argue, you are operating in someone else's frame. You are accepting that their doubt is the standard and that you must argue up to it. That is a losing position before you start, because even if you win today, tomorrow brings a new question. The doubt never fully disappears. You are always on trial. When you build, you change the frame entirely. You stop asking for their agreement and start producing evidence, slowly, quietly, consistently. Over days, then weeks, then months, your effort accumulates. And evidence is something that even the most stubborn doubt eventually cannot ignore. Think about the different energy in these 2 approaches. Arguing requires agitation. Your heart rate goes up. Your voice changes. Your focus narrows to the conflict. You win or lose, and either way you are drained. Building requires discipline. It is quieter, less dramatic, more internal. You sit down, you do the task, you get up, and you do it again tomorrow. Over time, that becomes something no argument could have created. Many people mistake talking about goals for working toward them. They announce their plans and receive encouragement. The encouragement feels like momentum, but it is not. Real momentum looks like a changed habit, a refined skill, a completed task, a kept promise. Those things do not announce themselves. They accumulate quietly and then become undeniable. Here is where most people lose. They talk about what they will do, and the talking feels productive. The conversation becomes a substitute for the action. You get a small reward from the discussion, and that reward slightly reduces the urgency to act. Then you are confused when the week ends, and nothing has changed. Nothing changed because conversation is not movement. Your strongest argument is not a sentence. It is a result. The best response to someone who doubts your work ethic is not a defense of your hours. It is a transformed outcome they cannot argue with. The best response to someone who questions your direction is not a lengthy justification. It is the life you are quietly building while they question. This requires patience. Real results take time to become visible. During that time, you have to trust the process without external confirmation. That is the hard part. But that patience is where character is formed. Every day you show up without applause is a day you build trust in yourself. And that internal trust is the most important foundation you will ever build. What would you do today if you stopped worrying about convincing anyone and simply focused on the next right action? From this moment forward, redirect every impulse to argue into an impulse to act. When someone doubts you, let them. Then get to work. When someone questions your path, acknowledge it briefly. Then keep moving. Build results instead of arguments. Let your growth become the only statement that matters. Chapter 6. Guard your energy like it is the only resource that matters, because it is. Energy is not infinite. Attention is not limitless. Every hour you spend defending yourself is an hour that was not spent building yourself. Every conversation that pulls you into justification is a conversation that costs you something you cannot get back. Most people do not think about energy this way. They treat it like it replenishes on its own. They spend it freely on arguments, on defending their choices, on managing what other people think. Then they wonder why they feel tired before they get to the work that actually matters. Your energy is directional. Where you point it grows. Where you spend it develops. If you point it at conflict, conflict grows in your life. If you point it at your work grows. The direction is your decision, but only if you are making it consciously. Emotional arguments are the biggest leak. Someone says something that triggers you. Your heart pounds. Your mind sharpens. Your whole system activates. And all of that biological energy goes into a debate that will produce nothing lasting. You are running your engine hard, going nowhere. High-performing people are not emotionally flat. They feel the trigger. They feel the pull of the argument. They notice the desire to respond sharply. But they have developed the habit of redirecting. They take that charged energy and they push it into something constructive. A workout, a focused work session, a creative problem. They channel rather than discharge. You can do the same, but it requires building awareness first. Start noticing where your energy goes throughout the day. After which conversations do you feel drained? After which interactions do you feel scattered and unfocused? Those conversations are costing you. They may feel unavoidable. They may feel necessary, but often they are not. They are habits, and habits can be changed. There is also the energy cost of mental replaying. After a heated exchange, you do not just lose the time of the conversation. You lose the hours afterward when your mind keeps returning to it. You replay what was said. You craft better responses. You rehearse future arguments. That mental activity runs in the background and steals focus from everything else you are trying to do. The quickest way to stop that loop is to invest in an action immediately after a draining conversation. Do not let the agitation sit. Channel it. Go for a walk. Start a task. Write a page. Practice a skill. Move the energy before it becomes rumination. Protecting your energy also means choosing your environments carefully. Some spaces are designed to trigger comparison, argument, and reaction. Online spaces in particular can be structured to pull your attention into conflict. You scroll and find something that frustrates you. You respond. Someone responds back. The thread grows. An hour disappears. Nothing improved. This doesn't mean you hide from the world. It means you engage with intention. You choose when to participate and when to walk away. You decide which battles are worth your attention and which ones are simply noise wearing the costume of urgency. Who are you allowing to determine where your energy goes each day? Think carefully about that answer. Starting today, guard your energy like it is the only resource that matters, because it is. Be selective. Be deliberate. Invest in what grows you. Walk away from what drains you without guilt or explanation. Your future is being built or dismantled one energy decision at a time. Make each one count. Chapter 7. Live so clearly that explanation becomes unnecessary. There is a version of your life where people do not need to ask where you're going. They can see it. They can feel it in how you carry yourself. They can observe it in your habits. They can notice it in the quiet discipline of your daily routine. That version of your life does not explain itself. It demonstrates itself. That is the goal. Not to craft a perfect explanation, not to become better at justifying your choices, but to live so aligned with your values that the life itself becomes the statement. This is the deepest form of confidence. It does not perform. It does not seek applause. It does not need verification. It simply moves, steadily, clearly, purposefully. And in that movement, a kind of authority develops that no speech could create. How do you build a life that speaks for itself? Through the accumulation of small, honest choices, day after day, when no one is watching, when there is no reward for doing it right except the fact that you did it right. Those moments compound. They build a foundation that eventually becomes visible to everyone around you, including people who once doubted you. The person who wakes up consistently and works with focus does not need to explain their progress. After 3 months, the progress explains itself. The person who saves steadily and lives within their means does not need to defend their financial choices. After a year, their stability is visible. The person who trains their body and mind every day does not need to announce their discipline. It shows. This approach requires you to invest deeply in private, to care about the quality of your effort even when no one is measuring it. To keep your word to yourself even when breaking it would be easier and invisible to others. That private commitment is what builds lasting confidence, not the confidence that depends on applause, the confidence that comes from knowing your own record. There is something important here about integrity. Integrity is alignment between what you say and what you do. When that alignment is consistent, you develop a reputation you did not have to pursue. People trust you, not because you convinced them, because you demonstrated trustworthiness over and over until it became the expectation. Trust is the most valuable form of credibility. It takes time to build. It cannot be rushed through persuasion. But once it exists, it does the work of 10 explanations without any effort from you. You may have areas of your life right now where your actions and your stated values are not fully aligned. Most people do. The question is whether you are honest enough with yourself to see those gaps and committed enough to close them, not for the impression it creates, for the integrity it builds. When your life speaks for itself, criticism loses its grip. Someone can question your path, and instead of feeling threatened, you feel steady, because you know your record. You know the hours you put in. You know the habits you kept when keeping them was hard. That knowledge becomes armor, not the defensive kind, the kind that simply does not feel the blow. What would need to change in your daily habits for your life to speak more clearly than your words? Today, choose one area where your actions have not fully matched your intention. Make a decision about how to close that gap, not through announcement, through quiet, consistent action. Start there. Repeat it. Let it build. Day by day, your life becomes a clearer statement, a truer one that needs no defense because it is built on something real. Live so clearly that explanation becomes unnecessary. That is the life worth building. Stop explaining. Start building. The life you keep trying to justify in words is waiting to be created in action. Your choices do not need approval. They need your commitment. From today, move in silence. Work with intention. Let your results say everything your explanations never could.